In this episode of the Latino Business Report, I sit down with returning guest and serial entrepreneur Angel Muñoz for an intimate conversation. This podcast delves deep into Muñoz's thought processes, business strategies, and the inventions he has created. As Muñoz opens up about his family, life, and career, listeners get a rare glimpse of the man behind the public persona.
Welcome to the Latino Business Report. This podcast covers business, people, and issues of the day from a Latino perspective. The Latino Business Report is brought to you by TAMAC, the Texas Association of Mexican American Chambers of Commerce. TAMAC is the leading Hispanic business organization in Texas since 1975. Now for your host, J.R. Gonzales.
And welcome to the Latino Business Report. Our guest today is Angel Muñoz. Angel, how are you doing today, bud?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you for having me on the show again.
No, thank you. And for the regular listeners, you'll recognize Angel. He's been on the show, been on this podcast several times, talking about his mass luminosity. He is the founder, president, and CEO of a development company that is just amazing. It's called Mass Luminosity. Angel, before we get into it, can you tell us a little bit about your company and what it does?
Well, I'd be incredibly happy to. Mass Luminosity is a company that I founded now. I think we're going on our 12th year, and it's a research and development company that basically is motivated or focused on creating positive experiences for people. We owned a social media network that lacks overt advertising. We owned a video communications platform called Beacon. We are about to launch Beacon Max, which takes the entire video conferencing industry and turns it on its head. We are soon launching Beam. That's a competitor for those in your audience that know Twitch, which is a streaming platform. We're going head, and that is owned by Amazon. We're going in direct competition with them. And then next year we're launching another social experience that is called. Have we announced the name? Yeah, we have. Singularity. So
So it sounds like you stay busy.
I like to. Yes,
Well,
I definitely like to.
And Angel, that's one of the reasons I've asked you back, because you are just, I mean, you're phenomenal. You are a serial entrepreneur, Latino, Puerto Rican, some interesting background and upbringing that we'll talk about in a little bit. But man, you're like a Latino Steve Jobs or something. You're just creating, and just really pushing the envelope of technology and going into some new territory. So thank you for that. And that's one of the things that our listeners need to know, that as you listen to this, go back and listen to some of our other episodes on Latino Business Report. We have two other episodes with Angel talking about some of his technology and some of the amazing things he's doing. But we're not here to talk about the technology so much, but about the man, Angel Muñoz. Angel, where are you from?
Well, I was born in New York City, but both my parents are from the island of Puerto Rico. And so I would answer that question that yes, I'm Puerto Rican. So, or New Yorican, as some Puerto Ricans call themselves when they're born in New York
Oh,
City.
yes, another New York Puerto Rican. Okay, we've had a few. We've had a few of those on.
You just had Luis Guzman on the show. He's New Yorican. Well, he actually was born in Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
So, and
came over
but
very, very young.
young, very young to New York City. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
the guy's amazing. The guy is amazing. So
Absolutely great interview. I recommend that your audience pause this, and go back to listen to Luis Guzman. He's fantastic. It was a great interview. Congratulations, JR, and having
no,
him on the show.
thank you very much. He is an amazing individual. Now, so just kind of describe real quick, and not a whole lot of time, Angel, but I just want to kind of set the table here. So, what was your childhood like? I mean, you're this serial entrepreneur. You're motivated. You're creating new things all the time. You're definitely driven. But I'm trying to figure out, and for our audience, what is there anything in your childhood that triggered this, or what was your childhood like?
Yeah. Well, JR, I was born under very specific circumstances that made me a little bit more curious for solo understanding of things. My mom has a third grade education, and my dad has a ninth grade education. My mom, actually, I taught her to read and write.
Wow.
So have to keep that in mind. And it was, my childhood was one of trying to understand. It's not so great when you're, really young in life and you realize that you know more things than your parents do. But it was great for me because I was all about sharing it with them. And my dad was a very intelligent, is a very intelligent person, and it was a great experience to have them as parents. I got lots of great refranes, which your Latino
Hmm.
community will understand this expression, which means sayings, but they normally are, they impart a moral lesson. And it shaped my life in a way that it kept me humble, because of my humble beginnings, but it also made me very curious about the world, and I think that's really where it all started.
You said very curious about the world. You're curious about a lot of things. You've always kind of been tinkering along with technology.
Right. Yeah, I started when I started breaking things at the house. So my goal was to try to take something apart and see if I can put it back together.
So you're breaking
Um,
it. You were breaking them on purpose.
yeah, I'm taking them apart, and I say breaking because sometimes I couldn't put them back together. So if there was a radio or there was a record player, I just wanted to understand how they worked, and how they function, and what was the mechanisms inside. And then, my passion for technology was very strong from as far back as I can remember. So.
Okay. Passion for technology, but as you went to school, elementary school, of course, high school, and then you never went to college, did you, Angel?
Oh, I actually did. I actually did go to the University of Puerto Rico for 2 years,
Okay.
but I dropped out. Yes. I honestly, the rigor of college education was just, it kind of, it was a bit against my grain. And I really, this is in Puerto Rico because
Hmm.
at that time I was living in Puerto Rico, with my parents, and I decided to move to the US. I did go to a community college, Miami-Dade Community College, here for a year, but I never really did it finish my degree. And I was just so anxious to throw myself at life and go through the University of Hard Knocks. So I absolutely threw myself that way, at life, and found that I had a natural knack to understanding programming and hardware interactions, and ended up, and my first real job was, it was working on IBM mainframes, and everything from backing them up to auditing them to, installing them and all that. And that was what really sort of put me on the track of technology.
They put you on the track, and what you've accomplished to date has just been amazing. I would think that somebody like you to have accomplished what you've accomplished, Angel would almost have like a PhD from MIT or something. But yet,
Well, I
that's
hope I hope I hope MIT is listening to you, because I'll take their PhD if they're offering one.
you'll take an honorary PhD.
I will take it in a heartbeat. Yeah, no, um, there's nothing that replaces an education, JR. I have lots of friends. My children, both college graduates. My daughter is a, biotech engineer
Okay.
and a scientist, and my son is a medical doctor who graduated from Harvard. And I just really, I really, admire the amount of knowledge and understanding that they get, that I had to go through years to try to even get close to what they have. So I actually, I'm not against an education. I'm actually pro it, and in fact, I'm in the process of starting a foundation that my daughter will be running, that will have scholarships for children so they can go to college and get an education.
That's great. That is great. And definitely in favor of any type of post-secondary education. But I think the point is you have managed somehow to be extremely successful without that. Obviously, a post-secondary education is important. But what's unique about you, Angel, is you managed to accomplish things that a lot of people would have never accomplished without that formal education. And that's what I find interesting. Uh, Your actual first real job wasn't so much in technology, was in what, investment banking?
The first job was in technology, and then a friend of mine, Jack Rodriguez, he told me that he thought I would do really well as an investment banker, helping identify future technologies that would have potential and creating, financing opportunities for companies.
So is
So I
that
went.
it was that basic understanding of technology that helped you in your investment banking field?
Well, to get hired was one thing because obviously they wanted a college degree, so I had to start even lower than an investment banker. But within a year of having that, I was already starting the career as an investment banker. I was already one of the top. I was top three or something like that in the entire firm as production, and I helped finance technologies like the MP3 format for audio, MP4 for video, uh, you know, which is obviously this now it's so common that we don't even know about it because everything is streaming, and other technologies that have been cutting edge, including LASIK. So, which was very far reaching at the time of cutting the eye with a laser. The
Mhm.
same lasers that were used, by the way, the guiding mechanism of those lasers is the same thing that NASA was using to couple two objects in space. So that precision that it requires is the same thing that was used in LASIK. I got very, very lucky. I was surrounded by geniuses, people who were seeking to make an impact on the world, and that really was a great experience. But I ran that for about 4 years, Jr., and then
Mhm.
I got an offer that I couldn't refuse. And at the age of 33, I sold the investment banking firm.
Okay. Well, now you got my curiosity up. So what was that offer you couldn't refuse?
It was enough that I thought that I could retire and live for the rest of my life without working. But that ended up not being so.
Uh, so you kind of sold off, you got out of the investment banking business, and so what did you go into next, Angel?
Yeah, that's when a friend of mine, Jeff Fox, was telling me that he thought I should definitely launch a technology company of sorts. And he was telling me about video games and how they were going to have a huge impact. And I launched a company called New World. And we started by launching a website that was this is now in the early days of the web. Um, and it was the top website of its type in the world. It was about, it was a true journalistic approach to reporting of anything that had to do with technology and video games. And then I had an epiphany that video games could be presented as a professional sport. And with that, I started esports, which is now roughly a $3-4 billion industry.
Wow. And the idea for esports came from where?
I don't know. It was odd. I just was watching people competing just for bragging rights, and it really kind of, I don't know. I don't know how the idea hit me, but I was like, this is very analogous to a sport. Why not present it as a professional sport, and why not organize it and have rules and events and venues and all that? And within 3 years, maybe 4 years of launching it, we were doing events everywhere around the world. The company was doing had major sponsorships, contracts, and all that. We were doing really, really well. It was certainly an idea that was the time was perfect. And in fact, my children, both Alexander, which is my son, and Gabrielle, that's my daughter, celebrated. They were both born in December, and in December we used to do an event. It was the winter event, and many of their birthdays were celebrated at those events. And I did that for about 13 years.
Okay.
Loved it, loved everything about it. But then a Chinese company made us an offer, and
Made you another offer you couldn't refuse, huh?
and I sold it.
Okay. Well, let me ask this, Angel, as I'm listening to you, and I think some of our listeners may be curious as well. So here you are, you interested in technology, investment banker, sold that off, started dabbling in some other stuff. had this idea. I mean, everybody has ideas out there. There's a lot of people who have ideas, but you had what it took to follow up with that idea and turn it into a global phenomenon, if you will. What?
Yeah, esports is now the Olympics are finally recognizing esports as a legitimate sport, which was something I predicted 20 some odd years ago. I would say that it's not so much a talent that I have, but it's an obsession.
An
Uh, uh, uh,
obsession. Okay.
I'm obsessed by ideas, and and I will not give up on it.
Well,
So
I know a lot of people that are obsessed with ideas, but
uh
the difference is not only your obsession, you actually do something about it.
I think that what I do differently, maybe JR, and it's not so magical, is that I'm able to communicate my ideas as they're forming in my head in such a compelling way that people see it and become excited and want to help me make that a reality.
So you have a vision, and becomes you share the idea, it becomes a shared vision with other people, and you all work in tandem to have that vision come to reality. Is that what I'm
I
hearing?
would say if there is a magic trick, that is it. That's the magic trick.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now you have an obsession, and just curiosity, Angel, and let's just kind of get into it here. You are not your average New York, Puerto Rican, or individual, or just you're not your average human being. I mean, I don't know what the heck makes you tick in there, but as you're obsessively coming up with ideas, you're constantly thinking, what is it when you get up in the morning? What gets you excited, or what gets you focused in on this type of thinking?
Well, it's not. Yes, thank you, by the way. Um, I actually break down my day into parts, and I realize that I do not like mornings, and I'm comfortable with that. So I start my mornings very slowly, and and I like silence in the mornings. So and then I give myself time to come out of the sleep world where I actually get ideas and then try to see if they will incorporate into the objective. I guess there's a subjective world and the objective world. And so, but I also will not overload myself with ideas when I'm working on one. So right now, my focus is almost entirely on Beacon Max, and that's where I keep my focus. So all my ideas have to do with that. And in fact, as I'm talking to you right now, I just remembered that I have to tell Theodora Troshenko, who is our chief technology officer, of two ideas that I had. So
So obviously, you're constantly thinking about something, even when you're talking to me. So am I that boring, Angel? Am I that boring that you
no,
have to be thinking
the
about
way
something else?
no, it's a weird characteristic that I have. I feel like I'm like a little like a computer. So a computer, by its very nature, because of us, has primary functions. Like this one is me talking to you and responding and actively listening to what you're saying and actively participating. But I also run a subroutine in the back of my brain that is constantly
It's constantly
also
going, okay.
processing. So it's a weird. I just became aware of it maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So I thought I was distracted because I felt like I had to turn that little subroutine off to give a person 100%, but it's not necessary.
All right.
So I
So
let it go.
so you become aware of it, but you haven't been officially diagnosed yet with whatever it is. But that's okay.
Exactly. I may have created a new condition, a new mental condition. So
All right. So you sell out the Chinese buy this thing for, and I'm sure you're not going to tell me how much, unless you want to tell me how much.
I rather not,
Um,
but yeah, it
I'm
was
sure
it
it
was
had
a
a lot of
fair offer.
zeros.
It was a fair offer. Yes, I would say that. Mhm.
And would I venture to say that it was a fair offer that you probably could have just kind of kicked back and had a
Again,
very and lived a very nice lifestyle after that?
yes, but for other reasons, but yes.
Okay.
Beyond the offer, we owned several properties that also were sold, and the entire package was very lucrative. Yes.
Okay. But that didn't stop you. You just something inside you kept you
Well,
said,
I
I
can
want to do
tell
something
you.
next.
Well, my wife Karen would not allow me to, she was, as soon as I sold it, she's like, "What are you doing next?" So there was no opportunity for me to relax. And so I then launched actually I bought an art gallery at the time. And right when I was selling, in the process of selling the esports organization, I started a small little. I didn't start it; it was already there. I bought it in bankruptcy, but I went into the art business. I just, a lot of people are puzzled by that. They're like,
Yeah,
"What's the technology guy?"
from technology to art. I mean, that makes no
Yeah,
sense.
it seems really disconnected. But what I wanted to discover is, are the um, basically the mindsets that you develop in a lifetime of creating businesses that are valuable, are they translatable to even a small business? Because when I
Okay.
talk to small business owners, they always want to remind me that their business is small. I only have one store. You think too big. So I so I went into the business with the idea: is it true? Is it true that you have to, kind of cut down on some of the ideas? And it ended up being not true. Jr. We had, within 3 months, we had the most successful um, gallery in Dallas. Arguably, I'm sure others thought there were more. I don't know which ones. And I sold that too, to a local billionaire here in the Dallas area. So
Nice.
after 2 years, yep.
Okay, so then you get art gallery, and then when did you really start getting into this whole beacon thing and all these new
Mass
just
Luminosity came after that. Yeah. So
okay.
I sold it, and then I started Mass Luminosity. I just felt that, with Mass Luminosity, I felt that work had to be done to bridge communication between humans, especially as we approach an era that, we are, by in every reasonable way that you analyze it, we are creating changes not only at a global level, but internally as humans. And I felt that we needed to bridge communication. And I named what the state of that we are, fragmentation. So it's like we're fragmented, like everything is polarized, everybody has an opinion, everybody wants to argue. And I started Mass Luminosity as to use technologies to defragment communication, to bring people together, to appeal to the true nature of humans, which we're tribal by nature. We're not
Okay.
we're not so separate. And with that, I started G Tribe, which is a social media, a website. We recently got an offer for G Tribe, has nearly 6 million people on it with no advertising. And last year we got an offer for $120 million. I'm not embarrassed to say, since it's public,
Wow.
and we turned it down. I love owning that, and I want it to be my legacy to the world. A site where people don't there's no, profanity. People respect each other. There's no advertising. It's people can come there and relax. It's kind of sanity in the middle of. It's like a small little sane island in the middle of an insane ocean,
And
and
this
I want
G
to keep
Tribe,
that.
how many people do you have on G Tribe?
Nearly 6 million. Yes,
Wow. And
just,
you're
I
off
would say we're about 50,000, maybe 40,000 away from 6 million, something like that.
and you were offered how much to buy it? And they
120 million.
you were offered 120 million, you passed on it.
I
Okay.
did. Hmm.
Well, that says a lot about you, Angel. I'm not quite sure what it says, but it says a lot.
It
The
says that there's a level of insanity, I'm sure, but I also I'm a stoic in my approach to life, meaning that I really believe in the principles of stoicism. And there is a philosopher called Epictetus, and he said, "Wealth is not about the accumulation of things, but about the diminishment of wants." And I really like that. So
wow.
I think that if I don't have that many wants, 120 million here, 100 or whatever, it's not going to really make that big of a difference in my life.
There you
And
go.
actually, I have all the things I want. So, and I've given the best gift to my children that I can give, which is shares in my company. So, so at one point, it'll probably be up to them if they want to sell it or not. So, but we may get an offer that's ridiculous. So, and I may
Sure.
sell it. Yeah, I may
Who
sell it
knows?
then. Yeah.
There's one thing I learned about business, Angel, is that you can have business plans and strategies and everything else, but life sometimes gets in the way.
That's right.
And you mentioned your wife, Karen, and I know it's been just what maybe about a year now, but she has passed,
It'll be a
and
year tomorrow, JR.
a year tomorrow. My
Thank
condolences
you.
on that, Angel. But I guess the question I want to ask is that as you're getting up every morning, as your wife helped motivate you when she was going, what's next? As your brain is going 100 miles an hour, as you're always looking for that next thing to accomplish or to conquer, how did the passing of your wife affect you, and how did it affect the business?
Well, in the beginning, I was completely dependent on our staff. It doesn't matter how much you prepare. I guess I should tell your audience, my wife died of cancer, and she was diagnosed with liver, terminal liver cancer is the best way to express it, about 9, 10 months before she passed. So you think you're prepared, and everybody hears this, so I know that I sound like an echo, but you think you're prepared for it, but when you go through it, it's such a real moment, JR. It's like
Mhm.
life expresses itself in its fullest. And to answer your question, yes, it has been very challenging in some respects, um, but I still have her voice in my head. So um, so anyway, so she's still yelling at me when I do things wrong, or or motivating me, at least in my head, and that kind of keeps me going every day. So I will not um, dishonor her by forgetting her.
All right. Well, you definitely have some great people that work with you. Theodore, I've gotten to know, and Kimberly, I've gotten to know. I mean, they're just phenomenal folks, and they've been with you for a while. Life, as I said, life happens, and your situation, as you know, we all do it. I mean, people die, and that's rough, and the people we love. Do you have any recommendations or suggestions? How did you get how do you get through it? How did you get through that? Because I can only imagine. I mean, some people will go into fits of depression. Some people just want to give up. Some people just want to do something completely different. Life changes for them when something tragic like that happens. When a close loved one or a spouse passes away. And I'm just kind of curious, Angel, how did you get through it and just get up every morning after something that devastating?
Well, it's not the answer that probably your listeners are going to relate to. They probably never heard this before, but I am deeply committed to living in reality. So, and that is a deeper thought than what it sounds, because that means you have to give up your fantasies about what life should be like, or what I think I deserve, or what I think should happen to me, and you have to accept life as it is. And that is what's gotten me through this. I I'm completely I love reality. Uh, you know, Sigmund Freud said, um, people prefer fantasy over reality because reality is too terrible to admit. I like reality. It's great, but it will cut hard. And I think as a protection to our egos and to our souls, we live in a state of denial of reality, like people are going to live forever. Think about it. No one thinks of death. And I just don't. So it was very painful when she passed. Extremely painful. It was painful for me, for my son, for my daughter, for her mom, for anyone that cared for her. But it was absolutely real. So you have to accept it, and you have to embrace it. It's like embracing the pain instead of running away from it. I think people that try to run away from the pain cause themselves depression and all kinds of things. Accept the moment for what it is. When the moment that she passed, I I was actually relieved for her, because was going through such excruciating pain. And so that was my first emotion, was a relief that she was
Okay.
at peace finally.
Were you by
And
her, were you by her side when she passed?
Actually, she waited. So, I used to have a person that stayed while I slept because one of the commitments that I made because of me, she never asked for it, is when they decided to put her in hospice care. Instead of having people take care of her, I had the people train me so I could take care of her. So I took care of her 24/7, JR, what she was, for almost 2 months. And when I could tell that she was now in her final stage, and I asked this incredible human being that was taking care of her, that still I'm still in contact with her today, um, to watch her while I would rest for a little bit. And within 10 minutes of me going, she passed. So she called me right back, and she had gone. And I appreciate that she did that so that I didn't have to see that particular moment. So, but I was with her, I hugged her, and anyway.
Well, that's a very unique approach, saying, just the reality of it. You have two adult children. How did your children take her passing?
Well, you can imagine their mommy's gone. So that's not a good day for anyone. So, I mean, yeah, it was hard.
I know you're close to your children, but her passing bring you any closer to your children?
I wouldn't say so. I would say that it really, one of the things that my daughter and I were just talking about yesterday is that things that I would have not naturally done because Karen and I had, we had different personalities. So she would be more inclined to do things with the kids that I wouldn't want to do. Now I do those things. That in that way, it changed it a little bit, but the nature of the relationship between Gabrielle, Alexander, and I has always been good, and we have, I think, great communication, and I trust them, and I know they trust me. So, what else can you ask for in life than that? That's an incredible gift.
No, that is incredible. It just well, everybody experiences death, in family members, and eventually we're all going to be gone. But it's one of those things that's just very difficult to deal with. Some people handle it, some people just can't. It seems like you've handled it well, Angel. And once again, my condolences. It's been a year now, and your wife. I did not have the opportunity to ever get to know her. She sounds like a wonderful human being and
She
person. I
was.
wish I wish I'd have had that opportunity.
She
Um,
really was. She was brilliant. She was one of the first women in the United States to own a broker dealer, a brokerage firm. She was
wow.
honestly, and pardon the French, she was a badass. And it's unfortunate that the world um, doesn't have her presence anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Well, she sounds like definitely that amazing badass that you talk about. Now I have to question her judgment in men, but we won't go into that. Angel, what what is it if you had to give some advice to folks out there who are entrepreneurs or business owners or people maybe thinking of starting their own business or going down their own path and becoming their own boss? What advice would you have for them?
don't do anything that you're not passionate about. Period. If you're not passionate about it, just don't do it because of the money. Don't do don't do the projections and get excited because this is going to make billions of dollars. That is not that is the recipe. Most people who approach business that way fail. But I would say that if you're passionate about something, that you pursue it with your entire heart and disconnect yourself from the possible results. The result is that you're doing something you're passionate about. It gives meaning to your life. It brings joy into your days. It's work that you don't even feel. I remember when my daughter got a job as a research scientist, and she said, "Dad, I can't believe that they pay me so much for doing something that I love so passionately." That's the secret to life right there. That's the secret to success.
Well, as I tell people all the time, money should be a byproduct of doing what you enjoy doing. So that kind of fits
Yes.
fits along those lines. Um, okay, that makes sense. So be passionate about what you're doing. Now,
Yes,
there,
absolutely. Don't do things that you're don't do it. Don't put it on an Excel sheet and do the math and go, "Oh, this is a great business." I don't I some people are successful that way. I can't say that anybody everybody's that way, but I can't live life that way. That's
yeah,
not
well,
my way.
well, and some people are their passion is actually making money, however it is. So, I mean,
Yeah, I don't yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
So,
I don't. Anyway, what I do, I listen. I have investors. What I do because I think that there is an opportunity for reward for all of us, but it's not the number one motivation. Changing the world, making the world a better place, making people, having people communicate with each other anywhere they're at in a way that seems natural and that is uniting to humans is the ultimate goal. So I think that's the future. And I think I'm just happen to be slightly ahead of the crowd.
okay. Well, let's talk for a few minutes before we have to go about Beacon, where you're doing some of the new, innovative, I mean, just mind blowing technology that you're about to launch.
Yeah, so Beacon is, I guess, the best way for your audience to relate to it is that it is Zoom on steroids. It is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. It is much better than anything that's out there. And then we took the time, JR, to invent new technologies to make the experience even better. In fact, as I mentioned probably in one of our previous interviews, we have now 5 patents. 2 have been approved. 2 we hope are in the process of just being approved since we got reviewed by an examiner, and 1 we just filed. So we have 5 patents. And because it's public information, we received an offer last year for 80 million. Not the 120 million was for G Tribe. This is for Beacon for 80 million, and also turn it down. So last year we got offers for 200 million for our company. Mhm.
Wow. Well, the Beacon offer, I mean, it's not even fully developed yet, and they've already offered you 80 million.
There's a free version was out. We have a
Mm-hmm.
free version at beaconx.com, and it was out, but it was not fully developed. It is now, uh, I would say that now it's fully developed. Yeah. We haven't launched Beacon Max, which is the paid version of Beacon, but we're about to launch it. So,
And folks, definitely listen to some of the other episodes or go online and look it up. The technology is just phenomenal. I think one of my favorite features you have is going to be the whole translation, um,
we call it interpreter.
the
So, yeah.
interpreter. Yeah, a
Hmm.
person can talk and the system translates almost real time. So you can have what 4 or 5 people on the call speaking different languages, and you'll be able to hear it in your own native language. Um, and your AI, your AR was Sammy. Just and the quality of the sound, the quality of
Video.
the video is just amazing. I mean, you guys got some really high tech stuff out there. Did I
Well,
understand?
it took us 7 years to develop it, so it's not something that we took it very seriously from the beginning. It was a grind. It was hard, but I am so proud of it, JR. It's a phenomenal product. I proudly stand my product against Google, Microsoft, Zoom, Cisco that has WebEx, all of them. We blow them away. So,
Amazing, amazing. Angel, let's just kind of go back for a second and kind of put this all in perspective. This is a little kid, Puerto Rican, comes over, lives in New York. His parents didn't have the advantage of a very high education. You're definitely interpreting and telling your parents about things. You have an opportunity, go to school in Puerto Rico, a little community college. Never really got that post secondary education as a lot of people think that you may need. Definitely determined, driven, investment banking, sold that, art gallery, got that, the whole G Tribe thing, technology. And now you're coming up with things that are just revolutionizing the audiovisual industry. And I mean, it's just new technology. It doesn't exist. I mean, 5 patents that are under
mhm.
review right now. That's just amazing.
two
So
two of them approved. Two of
two
them
of
are
them approved
approved.
already.
Hmm.
To that, I just sincerely, Angel, kudos to, I mean,
Thank you.
phenomenal, very, very proud to have get to know you, to call you a friend, and the fact that you're Latino, pues, sabes que it's just another plus. But I wanted you on the podcast. I mean, the technology end of it is one thing, and it's just amazing stuff that I think people need to know about. But equally as important, they need to know about you. They need to know about what drives you. The fact that even though you deal with obstacles and you have things, if you stay focused, if you stay determined, if you have that passion, as you say, if you're in love with an idea and have the passion to pursue it, pursue it. So before we go, Angel, any other last recommendations or suggestions for folks? I mean, I know that at one point, I mean, what can people expect in their own life? I mean, do they create their own destiny, or is it just kind of you got lucky and really had no control over it?
think it's a mixture of both. I think that how life, um, unfolds. There are moments that that you were lucky by being in the right place at the right time, but also you may be at the right place at the right time and not even realize it at the moment. So there's a combination also of being aware and being able to act on an opportunity as it presents itself. And I think that, if you're happy in your life, don't watch television and see other people's lifestyle that is full of excess and in my opinion exaggeration, and think that's the standard for good living. In fact, the happiest people that I've met in my entire life, and I know a lot of very wealthy people including billionaires, happen to sometimes are people that are have nothing, that are poor. And so pursue what makes you happy. Don't go by the standards of society thinking that only a person like myself or a person that, like Luis Guzman that you had in your show before, those are the people who are happy because they make a lot of money. Not necessarily so. At the end of the day, it's the quality of your life that defines you as a person, not the quality of your pocket. So, I mean, that's just secondary. So I would say ex- basically take an inventory of your life. Are you happy? Is this what you want? If you're not, then you need to start pursuing something. But if you are, enjoy it, enjoy the ride, and life provides. You don't have to, I never worry about those things, even when we're going through difficulties, because in a history of a company, there's good times and bad times, but I never worry about it. I'm not the type of person to obscure my present because I have these fears about what something may be in the future. I just live one day at a time, and I give every day the totality of my person. So that's as simple as I can explain it.
Well, that's some great advice, and definitely some good advice. So what you're actually saying is, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to take the risk. Don't be afraid to explore your passions and just follow. What is it? Follow your dreams. I mean, just do it.
Yeah, fear is a necessary mechanism that wants to protect us so we can survive, but it's a survival mechanism. It's not a success mechanism. There's a two different things, right? So survival is primal and it's super ingrained. So if you hear a loud sound now, we both jump. If we with
Yeah.
something were to explode, that's natural. That's the way that we're wired. But going beyond that, you have to look at it as, does being living in that state of survival, is that success? And if that's success to you, fine, then that's great. But if it's not, then you have to, everything you want, JR, everything you want in life is on the other side of fear. I'll end with that.
Wow. Definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Latino Business Report. My name is Jared Gonzales, and our guest today, a serial entrepreneur, an amazing individual, a person I'm proud to call friend, Angel Muñoz. Be watching for that name. You're going to see and hearing a lot more about him, especially when this new product launches. It's going to be phenomenal. Go to the website, check it out. If, in fact, you like what you hear, please go ahead and give us a like, give us some comments. Also, you can find our entire library of episodes on latinobusinessreport.com. Thanks very much. And until next time, we'll see you. And Angel, once again, thanks for being a guest on the show.
And thank you, JR, for having me.